Hey guys, welcome back to my house. That's right, this is the real rebuild project where I've had a lot of fun building a house for my personal family. Now in today's episode, I've got a really fun event to talk to you about, and that's the commissioning of my fresh air system. If you saw my previous video during construction, we showed you my Zehnder fresh air system. This is a Swiss-made ERV, or energy recovery ventilator. It's basically the fresh air system for my house. I built a very tight house, and as a result, I want to bring fresh air into the house, but I want to do it in a smart way. I want to do it when I want that fresh air. I want to put that fresh air where I want it to go, like my bedrooms where I'm sleeping. And I also want to drop all the pollen from the outside and lose some of that moisture from the outside as well. I'm in the hot, humid South here in Texas. Now, if you're in the North, you might want a heat recovery ventilator. But either way, Zehnder makes some really interesting systems. And on the build show today, we're going to show you the entire commissioning system that's getting the system running and making sure that it's actually going to perform the way we designed it. Today's build show is sponsored by Zehnder. Let's get going. All right, guys, so we're in my master bedroom. And what's cool about this commissioning process is that if you don't have a local Zehnder person to help you commission, they'll actually include in your budget when you buy the equipment from them, the price to commission and actually bring someone into town. And that's actually what we've got going on here. Hey, Chris.
Hey,
Matt.
Good
to see you again, brother. How you been?
Been good.
So if you guys remember Chris from our previous video, he is out with Gary. And normally Chris is actually not on the commissioning side, but he came out to help me make this video. So Chris, what were you doing here, and walk me through this process?
Yeah, this is a powered flow hood, and we're just going through. We've got supplies in certain rooms. We've got extract valves in other rooms. We just want to get those balanced, dialed in. So we're just going around checking right now. These are adjustable. So right now this one's still a little lower than what we're looking for. We're going to go around the rest of the house and push air this way.
Got it. So if you remember from the rough-in video, we have these, what I like to call shop vac tubes, but I think Zehnder calls them Comfo tubes.
Comfo tubes.
And it looks like just this white corrugated plastic tube that's running everywhere, like a big spider web throughout the house, or more like an octopus's tentacles. And so from this outlet here, which my bed is right over there, so this is gonna bring fresh air to right near my bed. This is running continuously in a home run fashion with those white tubes all the way back to the machine, which is up in the attic. And let me hold that for you. Chris, will you take that down? I want to show these guys what it looks like. What I think is the beauty of this system is that when Chris and the engineers designed the system, they didn't tell us, hey, this length of shop vac hose, Comfo tube, needs to be 40 feet long or 37 feet long. We run whatever we need on the job site because, you know, every house has obstacles and things like that. And then when we go to terminate those, meaning when we put the register on, these are the registers. I probably did that a little too fast for you to notice, but what's happening here is when you look at this in the ceiling, that's what you're seeing. This has a little gasket that gaskets onto the metal. We take this little beauty cover off. And now talk to me about how to adjust these, Chris, and what's happening.
Well, we're in process, so I'm not going to actually adjust this one, but you basically, it's upside down, you unlock it, and then you can dial this around. There's some numbers, some settings, there's an arrow here. You can lock it back once you got it where you want it.
And when you dial that up and down, it's moving this dimension more or less one direction. So either we can have more flow out of this or less flow.
Yep.
And this one's in red, so this is actually a supply register.
That's right.
This one's blowing into this master bedroom.
You can see this pattern that's created here. This is to even out your flow and basically to run the flow across the ceiling.
So you're kind of in a 360 fresh air pattern throughout the whole ceiling.
So
that's
you
pretty
eliminate
cool.
drafts coming down into the room that way.
Got it.
It's nice. Yeah.
And that just kind of friction fits right up in there.
That's right. That rubber gasket is going to grab inside the boot.
And so when Gary got here this morning and fired up the machine up in the attic, we're going around with the flow hood and checking each one of those individual outlets and saying, okay, this one was designed for 36 CFM.
This one's 36, yeah.
Because there's 2 occupants in this bedroom. And so how many CFM do we get out? And if we need more, we can adjust it. Now, when we adjust this one, though, it changes everything else in the house. So you actually have to probably go around the house on more than one circle, right?
Yeah, at least a few times.
A couple of times. Now let's go to an exhaust port and show these guys what those look like.
Sounds good.
Okay, so that was the master bedroom supply. Now we're in the master bathroom. And my master shower glass is not in yet, but basically there's a shower right on this side. And this one is actually a return, right, Chris?
Yeah, yeah, and I'll show you that because it's shaped a little bit differently. Minor detail, but details are in the design. Actually, we can just pull this beauty cover, as you call it, off.
Yep.
This has got the bell shape instead of the flat. It's when you supply, you're pushing air across the ceiling. Here, we just want to pull the air in. We want to keep the edges away, make it a nice silent airstream. So that's what that is.
But I'd actually like you to pull that down because I want to show these guys the filter that's on there as well,
yeah.
if you don't mind. So on the supply side, there's no filter because we're coming straight from the unit. That air is clean. But on the return side, oh, you're having a little drywall dust in there. It's doing its work from sheetrock today. So this is filtering the system and keeping junk out of there. Now, once I move in, I won't have drywall dust, but I will have dog hair, pollen, whatever's in the house could get sucked through there. And we're trying to keep those ducts clean. Now, how does that actually turn on? Is there a switch for that?
So the system is on all the time. It's running 24/7 by design. And this particular extract valve right here is designed for 24 CFM. Your toilet room right there has got 24 CFM as well. And then right around the corner in the master closet here, we've got 12 CFM. So we've got a pretty good steady 54 or so CFM coming out of this space.
Sucking out of this space.
But when you're showering or using the bathroom, whatever, you want to go into boost mode. We've got a switch right here. This is you just come in, you're just going to touch that. That triggers the system, the unit up in the attic, and it goes into high speed. Puts the whole system into high speed for period. The default is 30 minutes, but you can set that to whatever you want. And so even though you're normally getting a continuous, minimum flow here, you can go into boost mode for showers and things like that.
Yeah, get all that extra steam in this room out. Yeah. But then it's also going to go back into low speed again. Right. So even all night long, it's sucking a little bit out of here.
Yeah.
And what I like about this system is the entire house is balanced. I've built a very tight envelope. And so when my system's running all the time, it's always set at about 100 and I can't remember the exact number, 150-ish CFM, where it's supplying that through all my supplies, bedrooms, family rooms, public spaces, and it's always returning out or sucking out of the house the same amount. And those are the kind of wet and stinky areas of the house. My kitchen, my laundry room, all of my bathrooms are always in this suck out mode. Another cool thing about this that I really like, Chris, is now I only have 2 penetrations in my envelope. I've got an 8-inch fresh air, and I was able to do that on the north side of the house, the kind of cooler side of the house, and I'm exhausting on the other side of the house. So just 2 penetrations. Now, if I had exhaust fans in here, what builders call fart fans, I'd have a high volt switch. I'd have a fart fan here that's, $150 for a good one. I'd have some duct work to the outside. I'd have another penetration. And those always tend to backdraft some air when they're off as well. Yeah. So I've eliminated all those, and the Zehnder's doing everything. Now, I do want to make one note, though. I've had this question a lot, especially after my other video. The only thing that this Zehnder is not doing for air is my kitchen cooking exhaust air. I have a separate system, not from Zehnder. I actually put a Fantech. Stay tuned for a future system video on that. But at my exhaust for my kitchen, my range, in my case an induction cooktop, I have a Fantech hood there with a remote blower. And then on the other side of the house, I have a Fantech makeup air system. They're tied together. So when I turn on my exhaust to take out 300 CFM, I'm also supplying 300 CFM. Yep. So that's a separate system from the Zehnder.
Right.
Chris, why don't we pick this up in the attic and we'll show these guys some of the controls. Cool. All right, I'll meet you up there. Sorry, before we go in the attic, I did think of one other thing. Almost all the supply and returns in my house look like the 2 we just showed you. I kind of think of them as a smoke detector looking device that's on the wall. If you don't like those, there is another option. And what does that look like, Chris?
Yeah, well, here's a good example. So up here, on this high wall, you've got a couple of supply registers from your heating and cooling system. And so we wanted to put some ventilation air into this same wall. So we just decided to match that rather than come in with something that looks different. So Jeff, the HVAC guy, just took a similar box, similar grill, and we put a custom connection to it so we can connect our tubes to that box.
Gotcha.
And now, now we're working with that. The difference is, how do you adjust it?
Right now, I no longer have that dial adjustment anymore, right?
So you don't have the proprietary Zehnder, commissioning system. So what we do is we've got this little bundle of straws, and you'll notice it's got like a washer on it and a wing nut, and we can use different sized foam washers to open or close this to whatever extent we want.
So this will constrict it, basically.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just reach inside the box, take the grill off, reach inside the box. We'll stick this into the fitting that holds the tube connector, and then adjust with washers as necessary until we get the flow where we need it to be.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it works well.
Now, you could do that in your entire house if you wanted to, but I didn't want to do that for several reasons. But the biggest reason for me was I didn't want to spend the money. That was an expensive thing to make. Jeff had to kind of custom make that. It took a lot of work and a lot of manpower, whereas the system that comes from Zehnder, you've got the metal boot, you've got the termination cap, you've got the comfort tubes. It all kind of zips together, and you really could install the whole house in. If you're an experienced crew, probably 1 to 2 days.
You can do the rough in that period of time, yeah.
Whereas if you're doing those in every spot, you're going to spend a lot more time putting it together. And one other thing I wanted to mention before we go into the attic, let's walk down here. On my last video where we installed the system originally, there's a bunch of questions about what do I do for other penetrations in the house. Now, I mentioned this earlier. This is my Fantech exhaust. I haven't put the cabinet piece on yet, but that's going to take my cooking gases, mainly smells, out. It's an induction cooktop. And Patrick, my carpenter, sorry, Patrick, I'm going to bother you for 1 second, brother. This is a Miele washer and dryer. And the Miele dryer, you'll notice upstairs, I'll show you, is a non-vented appliance that's actually a kind of like a big dehumidifier. It's a condensing dryer, which means that you don't need another air exhaust for that dryer. Most conventional gas or electric dryers, I understand, use like 120 to 150 CFM of exhaust. And I didn't want that because I'm throwing my expensive conditioned air outside, and I'm also putting my house under negative pressure. So instead, both upstairs and downstairs where I've got a dryer, I went with a condensing Miele dryer that's ventless. All right, with that being said, Chris, let's go upstairs in the attic, shall we? Last time we were here, Chris, this is what we installed. And we're back to do the commissioning. Talk me through what that looks like with Gary and I in that process of kind of making the system work and teaching the homeowner how to maintain it.
Yeah, okay, so commissioning is a few different things. You want to make sure that the settings in the unit are proper for the site and for the airflow and all that. And then it's the room-to-room balancing that we talked about. Mm-hmm. So one of the things you're going to do, just to start, is we go around and we check all of those registers, all of those valves. We're going to make sure that everything has the right number of tubes. Mm-hmm. Make sure that all those valves start wide open.
Yep.
So we're gonna run the unit through its paces, see what it can offer us in terms of volume. The idea is we want the fans to work as little as they need to give us the airflow that we want. So,
yeah, because it's actually a very energy efficient system. When this thing's running, do you know roughly how many watts we're talking about?
I mean, it's going to vary on what speed you're in. Mm-hmm. So, but in low or medium speed, you should be around 100 watts or so, maybe 125, something like that.
Nothing. And it's, I don't know if you can hear it, guys, but it's super quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, we're right up next to the machine, and Chris and I can talk in a very normal voice. You can almost not hear it going. This could easily be in a downstairs closet outside of a bedroom, and it wouldn't concern me at all about noise.
Yeah. So, yeah, we open all the valves up, check, make sure the tubes are good. That's all preliminary stuff. We'll fire this unit up. The Q unit, which is the newer kind of generation of units, it goes through a commissioning wizard, which is really nice because it figures out, what it's able to offer you. It runs and ramps up and ramps down, and it will come and report back to you, here's the max flow I can give you, now what do you want?
Right.
And so we tell it what we want. And we can tell it what we want in 3 different speeds, actually 4, because you've got away mode, which is basically, you go on vacation, you get a little trickle of air. But you got low, medium, and high speed. High speed is your boost for those showers and things. So, based on what you can get out of the system and what you want and what you designed it for, you'll get those settings. And then it's time to go around and check each individual diffuser, check the flow, see what you get, and you go around. We'll record that once, then decide where to start tweaking. And
then once it's all tweaked, that system's ready to go.
Yeah.
And Gary, who is commissioning the system, spent some time with me today, not as the builder, but as the homeowner, talking to me about maintenance. And I was really impressed. There's not really that much to maintain. There are a couple of filters here. The filter on the incoming air, which is this pipe right here, this is a pretty serious filter. This one's pretty close to HEPA grade, I would assume.
That's a EPM1, so it's designed to be collecting particulates that are 1 micron.
And then this filter is the filter that's taking the air out of the house before it gets into the machine, which is really just a filter to keep the coils clean.
That's right, the core, yeah, those membranes, yep.
And then those need to be changed roughly every 6 months, but that's going to obviously change depending on what your environmental conditions are. And then the core itself, though, how often would you work on that or clean that?
Yeah, you can take this front panel off and you can get at the core. Obviously, you go into standby mode, so you kind of shut the fans down. Slide that out, but you do that like every year or two. You're going to want to pull that out. If you do it every year, that's just a good habit.
Yep.
Might not be that dirty if you do. We see people that let it go for 5 years and then they call up and
it's pretty dirty.
It's a mess. Yeah. But it's not hard to do. You just open that panel up, you slide the core out, you can vacuum off the core, you can give it a brush if you need to, and then you'll see the whole entire inside with the fan housings and where the different ducts and plenum connections are, and all those can be vacuumed out.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So not really that much maintenance, and I do want to mention that the exhausts out, that filter that I showed you earlier on the exhaust, those need to be, Gary mentioned that as a new homeowner, new to Zehnder, I should look at those about every 2 or 3 months just to see how dirty they are. And those are washable. So he thought maybe when it's all said and done, I might actually be washing those every 4 to 6 months. But again, it's going to depend on how dirty your indoor air is. If you have a lot of pets in the house, a lot of kids like I do, and maybe more often, if you're living by yourself or there's just 2 of you in the house, they may stay fairly clean. And it probably depends too on what your exterior envelope's like, if you have a lot of leakage into the envelope or not. And then these filters can all be shop vac. I can bring my Dyson up here and do a good cleaning on these and put them back in. And again, we're going to do that about every 6 months. And I have a replacement set of filters that I ordered. Now, Chris, we also have some blinking lights on the wall, which means that we're probably connected to the internet over here.
That's right. Yeah, that's an option. So we're not trying to invade anybody's privacy, but if you want to connect to the internet, that just allows you to use your phone as an app to control the unit.
Yeah.
And then we've got another box there, which is sort of the hub for the different wires that come in. We've got all your boost switches that are coming in there. And then also we're adding a wall controller, I think down in the master suite. So that's just a good place to connect all that stuff.
But what I like about this is it's really kind of set it and forget it. Besides your momentary boost, you're really not messing with your system very often. And if you wanted to, though, if you were in a more mild climate, talk to me about bypass mode.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so bypass mode is a feature that's built into every Zehnder unit. Bypass mode basically says when the conditions are right outside, let's say it's a summer day, the house gets warm during the day, warmer than your ideal comfort temperature. At night, that temperature drops down outside, but the inside of the house is still warm. You got good insulation. It's holding the heat. The unit goes, hey, the cool air from outside can actually cool the house. Let's not do heat recovery anymore. Let's just bypass all that and just pump cool night air into the house. So that's a great feature as long as you're in a relatively dry climate.
Right.
You get into a humid climate, and we're going to want to alter the settings so that that's not bombarding you with straight, unmitigated humid air.
Yeah, if you're in Michigan, if you're in Boston, well, maybe not Boston.
I'll tell you, Michigan gets humid, but
does it?
Yeah. So let's the Pacific Northwest has got some nice climates for that. Yeah. Parts of California.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's something. Zehnder's always, we're always kind of tweaking the designs and we're making the products better. As we move into the North American market more, we're going to start adapting the software so that it can kind of read the humidity and make those decisions more accurately.
I like it.
Yeah.
Chris, amazing system. Any last thoughts, or what did we miss?
I'll tell you, this it's like the build show. This is how I think about this. you know, you got your people behind the camera, you got your people doing editing. Nobody ever notices those people. You know, Jake, Stevie, the stars of the show. And this thing, as wonderful and as exciting as it is, the ideal thing is when everybody forgets about it.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen.
Just goes away.
It goes away. You walk through the house, you don't think to yourself, oh, there must be a really nice ventilation system here. No, you're going to see the lighting scenes. You're going to see the cased goods. That's what's going to capture your attention. But this thing, when it's not working, or if you didn't have it, the discomfort and the smells and all of that, then you notice it.
You notice
so if you don't notice it, it's doing its job.
Chris, thanks so much for coming out to see me, brother.
Absolutely. Yep.
Appreciate it. Guys, I'll have a link to Zehnder in the description if you're interested in getting a cost for your house. Hopefully you learned something today. And check out my other videos. There are a range of other systems that I've done over the years. This is the best. I'm super excited to have this in my house. If you're not currently a subscriber, guys, hit that subscribe button below. We've got new content here every Tuesday and every Friday. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on The Build Show.